Hi, I'm Allison Paris Chica.
And I'm Jill Schutte, and we are a couple of Annie's best friends from high school.
We have so many wonderful memories of Annie from over the years. We thought we'd share one or two with you all. One that comes to mind is a night that Annie had this brilliant idea to tie a feather boa to the back of my car so that we could pull someone in a shopping cart. Thank gosh we didn't actually do it.
Well, we didn't succeed because we broke the trunk of your car. The boa got stuck in the latch, and then we spent the next 2 hours in the pitch black trying to fix it because we were all so scared, all of us, of getting in trouble with your dad.
Yes. Well, and Annie pulled out all the stops trying to get this thing fixed. I remember she climbed into the trunk of the car. We closed it on her. She called some neighbor boy that she thought maybe could fix it. Well, in the end, it didn't work anyway. I still had to face my dad.
We just have so many silly memories with Annie. But what I will always remember is that we were just such a girl gang. And even if we weren't doing much of anything, we were always having fun and constantly laughing together.
Yes. Um, Annie had such a huge impact in my life, and I'm going to cherish these memories of her forever.
Cherish these memories and Annie forever.
Love you, Annie.
Annie. We've had countless memories together through high school and college. You, me, Albert, the bomb squad, a name you made up, of course. We were inseparable. And the thing that stuck out the most about remembering those times was that we had so much fun hanging out. There's no specific thing that I can remember besides just laughter and telling stories and being kids and, making sure that we just really enjoyed each other's presence and made memories that we'll have with us for our whole life. I wouldn't trade or give up that time for anything, and they're some of my more special and cherished memories. And I'm so grateful to have had that time with you, Annie. I love you.
I find it very apropos to be doing my tribute as I'm in Portugal surrounding myself in culture and life. Annie may have been my little sister, but I looked up to her literally and figuratively. She had a joy for life and travel that was contagious. We got to create memories around the world, and I am the lucky one that I get to cherish those forever and create new ones in her honor. On our last sister trip, we went to Fairbanks to see the Northern Lights, and we lucked out and got to see them on our first night. It was something magical and that we got to experience together. Moving forward in my life, I'm going to emulate her and live life to the fullest and even find the good in the bad, which was her specialty. Love you. See you.
I know I'm not the only one who felt Annie's magnetic energy and her fun, free spirit. She was driven and accomplished, yet always reminded us not to take life so seriously. Every time she was around, you just had to be ready for an adventure. And I'm so lucky to have shared so many amazing moments with her. I remember visiting her cabin, wakeboarding. Well, for me it's more like wake sitting, for her wakeboarding. Epic hikes. I remember in Yosemite, we did this big hike, and of course she showed up in her fabulous gold shoes, one of the many endless amount of gold shoes she seemed to own. I remember she visited me in Singapore when I was living there, went out, decided to explore the nightlife, stayed out till 6 a.m., saw the McDonald's delivered and decided to stay up and wait for them to come deliver. And back in 2012, McDonald's delivery was quite a novelty. She just has an amazing way to make everything feel alive and meaningful. And I'm so grateful to have known her and experienced her incredible spirit. Her light will really always shine in my heart. Remind me to embrace life fully, really, just like she did. I love you, Annie.
Okay, so my video submission is from June 2019 when we went houseboating on Lake Shasta. And Zach had bought an 8-slice pizza floaty, and we had a time setting it up and enjoying it. And I did a series of Instagram stories documenting that. And we all know Annie was the best at her photo essays on Instagram. And I got the highest compliment ever when we got home and I posted my stories, and she said this was the best photo essay she'd ever seen. So I wanted to share with you all what she at the time considered one of the best photo essays she's ever seen. Please enjoy.
Pizza's coming together. Oh my God.
Hello, friends, family, and lovers of Annie Schuler. My name is Emma Lantos, and I am one of Annie's good college friends. I just wanted to tell a really quick, silly story about her. It's about one of the first times that we hung out. We met through the Daily Californian, which was the newspaper for Berkeley. We were both photojournalists for them. And one of the first assignments we had together was taking pictures of all of the sporting events at Stanford. So we went down there together. And in between two of the tennis matches, we decided to get a snack. And so we went and got some hot dogs. And Annie ate that hot dog faster than I have ever seen anybody eat a hot dog. We bought hot dogs. I looked away for a second. I turned back and the hot dog was gone. It was about 3.5 seconds. And I just looked at her with awe and respect and was like, I'm gonna be friends with this girl. And the rest is history. That story is so minuscule in the history of our friendship, but it always makes me giggle when I think about it. And so Annie, if you're listening, I love you so much. I miss you. We were supposed to be celebrating your 35th birthday today, and I just want to take this time to celebrate everything that was magnificent and wonderful about you. So here's to you. I love you so much.
So Jen Lawton and I from Nature Bridge are having a conversation about the great Annie Schuler, who we love so dearly, who has been such an incredible part of our team. She has brought us together. She has brought laughter. She has brought inspiration, creativity, fun, frivolity. We love her. We miss her. All of us care about her so deeply, and she is a cherished part of the Nature Bridge community forever.
So it's hard to choose one thing to say about Annie, but I guess what I would like to uplift and celebrate about her and her life and her being is, of course, what a good friend she was to me and to so many, and how her friendship made me better, made my life better. She inspired me creatively, just through her adventurousness and interest in doing things, which indirectly helped me find my way back to dance by dragging me to these silly little tap classes that we went to at Google when we worked there together. And she just made every experience, every festival, every adventure, but even just a walk through the park so much more magical and beautiful and memorable and exciting. And her presence was always a safe and loving space to be in. And there are very few people who I love doing absolutely nothing with so much as with Annie.
Hi everyone, my name is Avanti. Annie and I met when we were 17 years old at Berkeley. We were little babies when we met, and at this point we would have known each other for over half of our lives. Annie was one of my first friends in the dorm, and I was immediately drawn to her energy. She was a force to be reckoned with. She was so beautiful and she was so confident, a confidence that I think is super rare in young women. It was hard not to be completely enamored with her immediately. Annie was also one of the first friends that I had who really brought me into her family. I've met very few families that are as close as the Schulers, and when you see how fiercely they love and protect each other, it really makes a lot more sense why Annie was the type of person she was. Most college kids don't want to spend a bunch of time with their families, but Annie did, and she would just bring us along for the ride. We were always welcome with the Schulers, whether it was at the cabin or in the desert. The love that she experienced at home, she carried into her friendship, and it was so apparent. To be loved by Annie was extraordinarily special. Even after Annie's diagnosis, she rarely let people see her down. Her strength and her optimism were honestly a wonder to behold, and in the last 3.5 years, she has probably lived more than most people would in a lifetime. In true Annie fashion, every moment that was spent with her was joy, and she made sure that we would remember it. I am so incredibly lucky to have been able to call Annie my best friend. The time that we had together was an extraordinary gift, even though it was too short. For those of you that don't know, I got married this year, and Annie, despite me not being able to make it for our wedding, planned me the bachelorette party of my dreams. Despite me telling her I did not want one, and I especially didn't want her to be worrying about something so trivial when she needed to focus on her health, she, in classic Annie fashion, ignored all my protests and planned one of the most magical weekends of my life. I don't even have words to begin to describe how much I cherished that weekend, because we lost Annie just a few weeks after. I am forever in awe and grateful for how strong she was and how much love she gave to all of us. Annie, if you are haunting us, which I'm pretty sure that you are, I know that I see you everywhere, and that I promise I will always take time to moo at cows, explore the world, and appreciate just how beautiful life can be. I love you, Via.
Hi, my name is Lucas. I'm Avanti's partner. I met Annie in 2020 at the height of the pandemic. Avanti and I just started dating, and this was going to be my introduction to the core friend group, and needless to say, I was nervous. I knew that Annie mattered to Avanti, but I didn't know how important she was. When I got to the meadow that we were going to meet up in, I realized Annie was not alone. She'd brought this chiseled dude who looked like he could take me out with his pinky, and I just assumed this must be her bodyguard until he came up to me and introduced himself as, "Hi, I'm Brian." Annie didn't skip a beat and immediately tried to get to know me, and she really made an effort. She was so genuine, and it was obvious that she deeply cared about Avanti, and because she cared about Avanti, Annie cared about me. From the first time I met her, I felt this deep connection with her. It's the strangest thing. Every time I saw Annie, it felt like reconnecting with a childhood friend. One thing I immediately recognized and that drew me to her was her incredibly dry sense of humor. Avanti and I saw Annie for the last time just a few days before she passed. We flew down to San Diego to spend time with her and Brian. We just spent the day watching reality TV shows, and Brian was guarding her like a lion, and I'll never forget it. And I think to release some of the tension, or maybe to just talk about something else, Cheryl said, "Lucas, how's the wedding planning going?" And without skipping a beat, Annie looked in her mom's eyes and said, "It's been challenging because Lucas's parents are very religious and they're not accepting of Avanti." My parents are not religious and they love Avanti. Taking stock now to realize that I've only known Annie for 4 years doesn't just seem strange, it seems wrong. After Annie passed away, I told my family Avanti's best friend just died. It took me all day to realize why I felt so dirty for what I just said. It's because I realized later, Annie wasn't just Avanti's friend. Annie was my friend too. Annie, we will never forget you.
Hi everyone. I brought a couple props with me to help me get through this video, and I ran around my house like a mad woman finding things that reminded me of Annie. And I didn't have to run far to find this one, but this is my favorite gift that we actually received for our wedding. It was from Annie and Brian, and it's actually a cocktail shaker that is shaped as a gnome. And I should have made Annie's classic The Annie drink in here from college, which is Gross Papa vodka and lemonade, but instead I'm just holding it as a prop. And I'm also wearing my little satchel that Annie wore when we met up with her and Brian in Mexico. And I was so obsessed with the bag that my husband reached out to Annie. She found the person she bought it from on Poshmark and made it happen. So this was my twins bag with me and Annie. It's fitting because, you know, we would go out and people would ask if we were sisters. And of course I was always the bigger sister and Annie was the cool little sister. But, you know, Annie was just someone who was so effortlessly beautiful and just cool. You know, those people that are just cool from like age 1 on. Like Annie never had an awkward phase. I saw a baby picture of her where she looked like a model. She was always just the coolest person that you always wanted to be around, you always looked up to. You know, we traveled everywhere from Idaho and Hot Springs and meeting up in Mexico City and, you know, trying to both move and live in San Diego at the same time. We only got a couple months of overlap. But I love her so much. I love how much she loves Brian. I love that Brian's in our life. I love how much she loves my husband. And she leaves a hole. But I will always carry this beautiful 50-pound gnome shaker around with me and remember Annie for her beauty, her style, her laugh, and will carry that with me for the rest of my life.
I first met Annie when she was about 10 years old, and 25 years later, I didn't realize how big of a part she would play in my life. She was there for some of my favorite memories, as well as some of the biggest memories of my life. She was there to help surprise my soon-to-be wife when I proposed. She's been there with our family for so many events and so many different memories that we can never forget. She will always be missed, but never forgotten. We love you, Annie.
So what can I say about Annie? This is easy to write, but hard to do. She was beautiful and had a beautiful smile. Fashionable, always well-dressed. She had a great sense of humor, sometimes needling, and she was really good at planning trips and events. She loved dogs. She was a good friend. She was a wonderful daughter and daughter-in-law, sister, aunt, family member. And she was the love of Brian's life, and they were good together. Our family misses her, and she impacted us greatly. Our world is a little darker without her.
I love you, Auntie Annie. I love you, Auntie Annie.
Hi, Annie. Brian had asked us to say a few words about you, and as I was thinking about all the different memories that I've had while you were in my life, back to when we first met at Jose and I's wedding, up until the very last time we spent time together, where all our dreams came true at the Ludacris concert. There's so many memories that I can recount, but I wanted to write you a poem that I thought would better encapsulate the impact that you've had on my life. So here goes. It's called Annie Schuler, No One Cooler. Our dear Annie was a beautiful soul, selfless, kind-hearted, and full of grace. A smile so big that brought everyone joy. Wherever she went, she lit up the place. Nature lover who lived for adventure, caring, intelligent, funny as hell, had the best attitude, plus great taste in food. Domino's and Del Taco, never Taco Bell. Fashionista enthusiast who traveled the world, lived life to the fullest, made every day count. With a spirit so bright, full of energy and light, no measure of time with her could ever amount. Daughter, sister, mama to Remy, beloved wife, auntie, and dearest friend, with a heart of gold and strength tenfold, she battled and fought till the very end. If only we all could be more like Annie, this world would be a much better place. Until we meet again, we love you, dear friend. You remain in our hearts in a sacred space. We love you so much, Annie, and we miss you so, so much.
Hey everyone, Garrett here. I got a good story about Annie. This was back probably about 10 years ago. We had a golf cart there at the house, and her and her friend Allison were driving on it, and they crashed right into the door of my dad's truck. And Annie, freaking out, gives me a call, asks me to come down and take Dad's truck to get it fixed before he gets home. I think he was working on the trails at the time. And like, it was just an easy fix. Go down and put a new door on the truck and get it replaced. And I mean, it was smashed. The whole door was caved in. And, you know, I just laughed, and she was trying to come up with any kind of solution she could. Leave my truck, take his, get it fixed, anything. 'Cause she thought, you know, she was going to be in so much trouble. But Dad ended up getting home, and all he said was, "Are you okay?" You know, he wasn't upset. He wasn't, you know, angry at all. Just, "Are you okay?" And that's kind of like how Annie was able to go through life, you know. Her personality was so disarming that, you know, she could do, you know, pretty much anything, but she just had an affability and a lovability that was undeniable. And, you know, I thought for sure she was gonna be just get the riot act. I would have, but no. And I was just couldn't believe it. And that's just kind of how she was able to go through life, you know, happy and always seeing the positive and always, you know, trying to live the right way. You know, she's gonna be missed. I'm gonna miss her a lot.
Hi everybody, my name is Janae Schuler. I'm Garrett's wife and Annie's sister-in-law. I just wanted to share a couple stories that happened just recently. One of which was 4th of July weekend. We had all gone up to Lake Arrowhead, as we usually do, all different families. And one evening after dinner, I decided to make apple crisp. We had some apples, and I knew we had some basic baking ingredients. So I decided to whip up some apple crisp in the kitchen after dinner. And about an hour or so later, I start serving it to everybody. And Annie was in utter shock that I could throw this together, just whip it without writing ingredients down and going to the store and picking out the things that I needed. She just couldn't believe that I could whip this up and give everybody something so delicious as a treat after dinner. Even so, after everybody had gone home, she texted me about a week later, "I still can't get over that you threw that together just like that, and it was so good, and that's amazing." And I just kind of giggled. I thought that was pretty cute. Fast forward to when her health started to really decline. We knew we had to get to San Diego, and so I texted Brian. I said, "Hey Brian, let me know if there's anything that you need. I'll cook for you guys. I can make meals. Just let me know." He tells me, "Absolutely not. Do not bring any food." Cheryl was already down there and had the refrigerator full to the brim of groceries and everything else. So we get down there, and Annie's sitting on the couch, and she tells me, she said, "Brian told me that he told you not to bring any food or any meals." And I told him, "Well, that was stupid. That's our best cook in our family." And we just started laughing pretty good. The idea is that Annie always made everybody feel good. She always pulled out the best qualities in everybody and saw the best in everybody. And she would take little snippets in my day and say just really nice things that make me feel good. And that's a quality that from somebody that I'm really gonna miss, and amongst other things, obviously. But love you, Annie. I'm gonna miss you so much.
I love you, Auntie Annie. I'm really gonna miss you. I love you, Aunt Annie. We're gonna miss you. I love you, Aunt Annie, and we're gonna miss you.
Hello there, I'm Brian. I am the lucky guy who got to date, fall in love with, marry, and build a life with the incredible Annie Schuler. Coming to you pre-recorded from our dining room table, and I'm going to tell a couple stories that highlight just a few of the wonderful qualities that I so admired and loved about Annie. My first story comes from one of our trips to London. We were visiting Sheena in 2021, and we had just left Sheena. We had gone to Camden Market. Annie and I were going our own separate way. And we ended up walking through this very quiet residential neighborhood, tiny one-lane streets. I think we had just crossed over a canal even. And we cross the street. Annie looks back and is like, oh, I wonder if that guy needs help crossing the street. And I turn around, she's already halfway over to this elderly gentleman who was blind. And she walks up to him and is like, excuse me, sir, do you need help crossing the street? And she grabs his arm, escorts him across the street. I'm just sitting there, like waiting for a British Boy Scout to jump out and hand her a merit badge. But she just helps the guy across the street, comes back and carries on like nothing even happened. Meanwhile, there's a dozen people around and no one else was gonna help this guy. And he looked very confident. It's not like he needed help, but I think it just highlights how Annie was so compassionate, so kind, and always willing to jump into action and help people, even total strangers. My second story comes from December 2021. I had tried to plan this elaborate holiday-themed date for us at the Mission Inn in Riverside, which is quite the Christmas destination with light shows, restaurants, etc. I had to book this months in advance, and basically everything about this date went wrong from beginning to end. And every time something went wrong, Annie just found it more and more enjoyable and funnier. And she had a great time, even though pretty much everything went wrong from beginning to end. So we drive there. It's about an hour and a half from our house in San Diego. The charger I had picked out days in advance, park there. The charging cable is ripped out, so we have to valet for $50. The light show we were going to walk through and see the whole Christmassy scene is just completely underwhelming, and there are hundreds of people waiting in line. We had a 7 p.m. reservation, but since it was drizzling that day, they had all the tables in the courtyard shut down, so they were way behind. We have to wait like 2 hours for our table. We end up in the bar at a small table with another couple, and they just talk at us for 45 minutes, and I'm so annoyed with the whole situation. Annie is just giddy with joy and laughter about how this entire thing has come off the rails. We finally sit down at like 9 p.m. for our dinner. When they bring us our Caesar salad to share, there is literally a bug in it, and we have to send it back. The food was quite expensive and so mediocre that we just have to laugh about it. And then they tried to make it up for us, bringing us wine and dessert, but at this point in time, we weren't drinking, we weren't eating sugar, so we're just like, get us out of here at any cost. And yeah, pretty much everything went wrong on that date, but it was just so much fun because she always saw the light and the joy and the fun and beauty and everything. If life gave her lemons, I'm pretty sure she would start a lemonade stand and throw a party. She just had that sort of personality. It was so fun and special.
Hi, I'm Cheryl. I'm Annie's mom. I want to share just a quick story about Annie that I recently came across. I'd actually forgotten I was her victim so often of her little pranks. This one was particularly clever, and most of the time I actually believed her pranks. This one, of course, stretched the imagination a little too much. However, when she was in high school, I planned a college visitation trip. And a few days before we were getting ready to leave, I received this note from her in my dressing room in which she said, "Mom, I will be unable to accompany you this week on the college trip. Unfortunately, I have decided not to attend college and instead to travel to Kiev, where I will learn to be a trapeze artist. Please do not try to convince me otherwise. I have contemplated this extensively, and my decision cannot be reversed. I understand if you choose to disassociate yourself with me, but know that I will always think of you when I am suspended 50 feet in the air, hanging by my foot. Love, Annie." That was just one of the many, Brian says millions of little pranks and things that she pulled on me. Over the years, I was always in awe of Annie's ability to be positive, optimistic. Everything was joyful for her, or at least seemed to be. And I would ask her about it, and she said that, of course, it was because she was a holy child, a miracle child. And one time she wrote me a note and emphasized that, saying, you know, Mom, every Jesus needs its Mary. And I assumed then that that was me, and that became a kind of going gag with us, that she was the holy child and I was the holy mother. And a few weeks before she passed away, she gave me a gift to commemorate that little gag. And this is what it says. That's right. The Holy Mother's holy water. That was my holy child.